Imagine a moment so divine that every curse, every lie, every chain meant to break you suddenly shatters, not by your strength, not by your effort, but by the sheer weight of God's favor falling upon you. You've endured seasons that felt unfair, moments when betrayal burned through your heart, and nights when your prayers seemed unanswered. You wondered if God had forgotten you. But the truth, my friend, is this: heaven was not silent. It was preparing. What you thought was delay was divine alignment. What looked like rejection was redirection towards something beyond your imagination. You see, the favor of God is not light. It carries weight, the kind of spiritual gravity that crushes curses and rewrites destinies. When it falls, it doesn't come to decorate your life, it comes to dominate it. It lands with the authority of heaven itself, commanding everything that opposes you to bow. You are not stepping into an ordinary season. You are stepping into a divine collision, where grace meets justice and where every word spoken against you begins to dissolve in the presence of God's goodness. Have you ever felt as though something unseen was working against you? Relationships failing without reason, doors closing just as you reached for them, or peace slipping through your fingers? Those weren't coincidences. They were battles in the unseen realm. There were forces that rose against your purpose, voices that cursed what they could not comprehend, and people who spoke against what they didn't help build. Yet through it all, God watched. He allowed certain storms not to destroy you, but to reveal who truly stood with you and who never did. And now, because you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit, the weight of His favor is about to fall. This is not a gentle blessing, it's a holy interruption. It's the kind of favor that rearranges lives, elevates the humble, and exposes those who mocked your faith. You are about to witness how God vindicates those who quietly endured injustice. Every curse, every word spoken to belittle you, every attempt to dim your light. God is reversing it. His favor carries the authority to cancel what generations tried to pass down, and to erase what the enemy tried to write over your name. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold, forgotten, imprisoned. Yet when God's favor descended, it pulled him from the pit to the palace in a single sweep. The same favor that lifted Joseph is about to lift you. But remember this: favor doesn't fall on the proud, it finds the surrendered. It rests on those who walk humbly, who forgive when it hurts, who trust when it's dark, and who worship when it makes no sense. That is the soil where divine favor grows. The weight of God's favor isn't for show, it's for purpose. It doesn't arrive to make you comfortable, but to make you impactful. When it falls, you'll notice the shift. Opportunities will chase you. Peace will guard you. Enemies will expose themselves. And those who once overlooked you will have to acknowledge you. You'll no longer need to defend yourself. The evidence of His hand on your life will speak louder than your words. So, if you've been wondering why you've had to walk through so much darkness, it's because favor shines brightest after the storm. The greater the pain, the heavier the anointing. Every tear you've cried, every betrayal you've endured, every night you've whispered prayers into the void, all of it has been collected by the One who never forgets. He has measured your suffering, and now He is measuring out your favor, and it will outweigh every curse that ever tried to limit you. You are not cursed, you are chosen, and when the favor of God falls upon the chosen, no curse can remain standing. Watch how the same mouths that gossiped about you will now have to testify of your blessing. Watch how the same places where you were rejected will open doors with your name on them. Watch how peace, prosperity, and restoration will flow not as random blessings, but as divine compensation for every injustice you've endured. This is your moment of divine reversal. The weight of his favor is not coming quietly, it's coming like thunder rolling across the heavens. It will shake what needs to be shaken and build what needs to rise. The curse ends here. The struggle ends here. Every dark cloud that hovered over your name is about to scatter under the brilliance of God's favor. So lift your head, stand tall, and prepare your heart. The season of being misunderstood is ending. The season of being misjudged is over. What's coming next is not punishment. It's proof. Proof that you were never forgotten, proof that your prayers carried power, and proof that favor always falls hardest on those who least expected it. When it comes, don't apologize for it. Don't hide it. Don't shrink for the comfort of those who couldn't celebrate you in your valley. Walk boldly, because what's falling on you is not luck. It's the weight of God's favor, and it will cancel every curse that ever dared to speak your name. God's favor is not a decoration to make life beautiful. It is a force designed to make life meaningful. Many people pray for favor without understanding that true favor is not about comfort, it's about calling. When God's favor rests upon your life, it does not always come wrapped in ease. Sometimes it comes disguised as responsibility. The favor that opens doors also demands the strength to walk through them. The favor that elevates you also requires the humility to remain grounded when the world begins to notice. You see, favor is not light. It carries divine weight. It moves mountains, but it also changes the person standing before them. When God chooses to pour his favor on someone, it's because he sees a purpose that must be fulfilled through them. That's why his favor often follows seasons of testing. Before the crown comes the cross. Before the blessing comes the breaking. God's favor never arrives without intention. It comes to equip you for what ordinary strength could never accomplish. When his favor falls, it will not simply bless your life, it will transform it. It shifts you from being dependent on people to being anchored in purpose. It reminds you that success is not about being seen, it's about being sent. That's why many people misunderstand favor. They think it's the absence of struggle, but it's actually the assurance of victory through struggle. The storms you face with favor on your life are different, because though the winds rage, they can't destroy what God has destined. Sometimes God's favor isolates before it elevates. He removes the noise around you so you can hear his direction clearly. You might find yourself losing friends, opportunities, or even recognition, but don't mistake that for rejection. It's redirection. God hides his chosen until the time is right. His favor doesn't rush, it prepares, and when that preparation is complete, he unveils you not to impress the world, but to impact it. Favor demands faithfulness. It's not enough to receive it, you must carry it with integrity, because favor isn't just meant to make your name great, it's meant to make God's presence known through you. Every door that opens, every opportunity that arrives, every blessing that finds you, it's all for the greater purpose of reflecting his glory. That's why true favor doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you humble. It reminds you that what you have is not earned, it's entrusted. So when you pray for the favor of God, understand what you're really asking for. You're asking for weight, the kind that stretches your character, tests your patience, and deepens your trust. You're asking to be molded into someone who can handle what others can't carry. And when that favor comes, it will not just make your life easier, it will make your life eternal in impact. Because God's favor isn't a feeling, it's a divine assignment. It's his signature on your soul that says, this one was made for more. Before God clothes you in his favor, he often allows you to walk through seasons that test your endurance, humility, and faith. It is through suffering that the soul is refined enough to carry divine weight. You cannot receive heavy favor with a shallow heart. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every night you spent in tears was not wasted. It was divine preparation. Pain teaches what comfort cannot. It strips away pride, purifies motives, and forges character strong enough to sustain the blessings ahead. Many cry out for God's favor but flee from the furnace that forms it. Yet it is in that very furnace that the heart learns reverence, the mind learns patience, and the spirit learns surrender. You see, before Joseph wore the robe of rulership, he wore the chains of betrayal. Before David sat on the throne, he hid in caves. Before Esther found her crown, she faced fear in silence. Every story of divine elevation begins with divine breaking. The path to glory always runs through pain. It is not punishment, it is preparation. When you suffer, it's easy to believe that God has abandoned you, but the truth is far deeper. The suffering is proof that He is near. For if He intends to place something sacred upon your life, He must first remove everything that cannot hold it. The weight of favor requires a foundation of endurance. Without it, the blessing would crush you. That's why certain trials seemed unbearable, because God was not testing your weakness, He was strengthening your core. Every tear you cried softened the soil of your soul so His favor could take root. Every rejection was divine pruning, cutting away attachments that would have limited your growth. Every delay taught you to depend not on timing but on trust. And when you finally emerged from that valley, you realized something miraculous. Your pain didn't destroy you, it developed you. It trained your heart to recognize what truly matters. When the weight of favor falls, it feels different for those who've suffered. You don't wear it with pride, you wear it with reverence, because you remember the nights you begged God just to survive. You remember when you had nothing but faith left, and even that was trembling. You remember how the world turned its back, yet grace still found you. That is why your favor will carry power. It has been baptized in pain. So don't despise your suffering. The hands that allowed your breaking are the same hands that will lift you. God never wastes wounds. He transforms them into wisdom. The weight you've carried in sorrow is the same weight that will translate into glory. And when His favor finally falls, it will not land lightly. It will fall with the authority of every lesson your pain taught you. Then and only then will you understand that the suffering was never a curse. It was the soil in which divine favor was born. When the favor of God descends upon a person, it does not come gently. It comes with the full authority of heaven. It carries the power to erase what generations have suffered, to silence voices that once cursed you, and to reverse words spoken in dark places against your name. You see, a curse is not always a ritual. Sometimes it's a word spoken in jealousy, a whisper born of envy, or a thought aimed to limit your destiny. Yet none of these things can stand when God releases His favor. For His favor is light, and no darkness can remain where divine light falls. There are those who underestimated you, who looked upon your struggle and declared that you would never rise. Some cursed you, not with their mouths, but with their expectations. They hoped for your downfall, delighted in your delay, and mocked your prayers. But what they did not understand is that every word spoken against a child of God becomes powerless in His timing. He listens, He records, and when the moment comes, He releases a favor so heavy that it suffocates every curse ever sent your way. Favor is not merely blessing, it is divine defense. It builds a shield around your spirit, one that no spell, no gossip, no betrayal can penetrate. When God favors you, even your enemies unknowingly serve your purpose. Their plots become pathways, their slander becomes spotlight. Every attempt to bury you becomes the very soil from which you grow. For when God says, "Blessed," no man, no demon, no circumstance can reverse it. Think of Balaam, the prophet paid to curse Israel. He opened his mouth to speak destruction, but God turned his words into blessing. That is what divine favor does. It confuses the enemy's language. Those who try to curse you will end up declaring your greatness without even realizing it. When favor falls, it does not just silence curses. It converts them. It transforms what was meant for harm into the foundation of your rise. Every generational curse that has tried to travel through your bloodline, poverty, rejection, fear, failure, meets its end when favor arrives. Because favor is not inherited from people, it is bestowed by God. The power of that favor breaks cycles, restores identity, and renews legacy. Where others fell, you will stand. Where others were forgotten, you will be remembered. And where others faced loss, you will see restoration. The curses spoken against you no longer have permission to breathe. The moment you align with God's will, the chains of every dark word shatter. The same God who spoke light into existence now speaks victory over you. His declaration overrides every negative word ever spoken. You do not need to fight the curse. Favor already did. You do not need to prove your worth. Favor already validated it. So stand tall, for the battle is over. Every curse has expired under the weight of His grace. You are not bound by what they said. You are crowned by what He declared. His favor is final, and when heaven seals your destiny, no force on earth can unwrite it. God's favor does not rest upon the proud. It seeks the humble, the quiet, the surrendered. The proud shout for recognition. The humble wait for revelation. The proud chase the spotlight. The humble walk in obedience. And that, my friend, is where the divine mystery unfolds. God hides His greatest treasures in the hearts of those who do not crave attention, but crave His presence. When you kneel before God in private, He will raise you in public. When your heart is bowed low before heaven, the weight of favor finds you with precision, because humility is the language heaven understands. There are many who appear powerful but live empty. Their success shines briefly like lightning, dazzling the sky before disappearing into darkness. They build their identity on applause, and when the noise fades, so do they. But the humble, the ones who do good quietly, who forgive when wronged, who keep faith when unnoticed, those are the ones God watches closely. His eyes linger on the pure in heart, and when the appointed time comes, He lifts them with favor so undeniable that even the arrogant must acknowledge His hand. You see, favor has a way of revealing hearts. When it falls, it separates the genuine from the pretentious. It exposes motives. Those who once pretended to support you will reveal their envy when God's blessing begins to show. Those who doubted you will question how you rose so fast, but what they cannot comprehend is that favor is not earned, it's entrusted. It's not a reward for prideful ambition, but the fruit of quiet faithfulness. Humility does not mean thinking less of yourself, it means thinking of yourself less. It means recognizing that every breath, every opportunity, every moment of grace is a gift, not a right. The humble carry this understanding in their spirit, and that's why they can handle favor without being destroyed by it. Pride breaks under pressure. Humility bends, but never snaps. Pride shouts, "I deserve this." Humility whispers, "God chose me for this." And because of that posture, favor flows freely upon the humble and exposes the proud for who they truly are. When God begins to favor you, stay low. The higher He lifts you, the deeper your roots must go. Never forget that favor is not a throne to boast from, but a testimony to serve with. God lifts the humble not to parade them, but to use them as living proof that obedience is more powerful than pride. Remember, even Lucifer once held divine favor, but pride corrupted him. He wanted the glory without the humility, the throne without the submission, the praise without the purpose. That is why favor must rest only upon hearts that have learnt surrender, because the moment pride creeps in, favor withdraws. So if you've been hidden, if your kindness has gone unnoticed, if your obedience has been mocked, do not lose heart. You are not forgotten. You are being protected. God hides His anointed until the noise fades, and then He releases favor that no man can question. The proud will stumble over what the humble have quietly built, and when your time comes, the light of favor will shine not to make you famous, but to make God visible through you. When the weight of God's favor falls upon your life, nothing remains the same. It does not enter quietly or politely. It comes like a divine wind, rearranging everything it touches. Doors that were locked for years suddenly open without you knocking. People who once ignored your presence begin to notice your value. Situations that felt stagnant begin to move in directions you never imagined. That is the mysterious power of favor. It moves in silence and manifests in miracles. God's favor is not bound by human systems or timing. When He decides your season has come, no gatekeeper can keep you out. You don't need to manipulate, prove, or strive. His favor carries its own authority. It speaks where you are silent. It fights where you cannot reach. It defends where you are misunderstood. When God favors you, He begins to orchestrate divine alignments, connections, opportunities, and breakthroughs that no amount of effort could ever achieve. Satan can untend prayer. Satan hangs up on the generalized alignments, connections, opportunities, and breakthroughs that no amount of effort could ever achieve. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable, because favor shifts the entire atmosphere around your life. Sometimes, before favor falls, God allows everything to collapse. He lets you experience loss, betrayal, and delay so that when His blessing comes, you'll know it wasn't your doing. The shift that favor brings is always preceded by emptiness. The soil of your spirit must be cleared before the seed of favor can take root. That's why certain people walked away. That's why certain doors closed. That's why certain seasons ended abruptly. They had to, so that favor could finally find space to land. When God's favor falls, it alters your position without warning. One day Joseph was in prison, the next he was in the palace. One day Ruth was gleaning in the fields, the next she was owning them. One day Esther was unknown, the next she was seated in royal authority. This is how quickly God can move when favor is released. The same people who pitied you yesterday will not recognize you tomorrow. But the shift is not just external, it's internal. Favor changes how you see yourself. It lifts your spirit from despair to purpose. It breaks the weight of fear and replaces it with quiet confidence. You stop chasing validation because you realize you carry heaven's endorsement. The things that used to intimidate you lose their power because favor reminds you that divine backing outweighs human approval. When the favor of God rests upon you, resistance doesn't disappear, but it loses control. The attacks may continue, but they will no longer prosper. Every weapon formed against you will fail, not because it never existed, but because the atmosphere around you has shifted. Favor builds a spiritual firewall around your destiny. Those who try to harm you end up promoting you. Those who plot your fall become witnesses of your rise. So when you feel the stirring, when things begin to shift suddenly, don't panic. That's not chaos, that's favor in motion. Heaven is reorganizing your life to align with divine purpose. The relationships you lose, the paths that close, the unexpected turns, they're not punishment, they're preparation for elevation. You're stepping into a new order, one written by the hand of God Himself. When His favor falls, everything moves. Hearts, doors, and destinies. You won't have to chase what's already been assigned to you. What belongs to you will recognize you. The shift will not come from striving, but from surrender. And when it does, you'll realize this. It wasn't that the world suddenly changed. It's that God finally revealed who you truly were all along. There comes a moment in every believer's life when explanations are no longer needed, when the favor of God becomes so visible that it speaks for you. You won't have to prove your worth, defend your name, or justify your journey. The evidence of divine favor will do the talking. It will become the loudest testimony of your endurance, your faith, and your unwavering trust in God through every storm that tried to silence you. For years you may have been misunderstood. You tried to explain your heart to people who only saw your flaws. You tried to share your vision with those who lack the capacity to believe. But when God's favor steps in, He becomes your voice. He vindicates you in ways that words never could. Every seed of pain you planted in faith begins to bloom, not quietly, but magnificently. The same people who doubted your sincerity will witness your elevation, and they will know it was not luck, not manipulation, not chance, but divine favor made visible. The favor of God doesn't announce itself through noise. It reveals itself through transformation. It shows up in the peace you carry after being broken, in the opportunities that find you without your chasing, and in the restoration that follows seasons of loss. It's the glow that suffering can't dim, and the strength that hardship can't destroy. True favor doesn't need to be flaunted. It radiates naturally. When God's hand is upon your life, even silence becomes a sermon. The evidence of favor appears in places where curses once lingered. Where you were once rejected, you'll now be celebrated. Where you once wept, you'll now rejoice. The very things that were used against you will become the symbols of your redemption. God has a way of turning the ashes of humiliation into the crown of honor. He allows pain to shape you, so that when favor finally reveals you, you will not point to yourself. You'll point to Him. And that's the beauty of divine favor. It's undeniable. You can't argue with a transformed life. You can't debate with restoration. You can't explain away peace that makes no sense. People will look at you and wonder how you survived, how you kept standing when everything around you fell apart. They will question how doors opened for you when you had no power to open them. And the answer will always be the same. God's favor. When favor becomes visible, you don't chase validation, it chases you. You no longer have to convince anyone that you're chosen. Your life becomes proof. Every healed wound, every answered prayer, every breakthrough is a chapter of evidence that heaven was writing your story long before others misread it. Those who once mocked your faith will be silenced by your fruit. So stay still and let your life speak. Don't argue, don't retaliate, don't defend. Just keep walking. Every step you take in obedience becomes another line in the testimony of favor. God is preparing to make you living evidence that His promises are true. The same mouth that gossiped will one day bless you, and the same hearts that doubted will one day say, "Surely the Lord has been with them." That is the sound of favor speaking, and it always speaks louder than words. There comes a point when heaven itself declares, enough. Enough of the pain that broke you. Enough of the betrayal that wounded you. Enough of the nights when you prayed with tears and silence was your only reply. God watches longer than we think, but when His appointed time arrives, He moves swifter than we can imagine. And now that time has come. This is the season of divine reversal, the moment when everything that once worked against you begins to work for you. The favor of God is not trickling anymore. It's about to fall like rain, soaking every dry place of your life. Reversal is not a slow process when it comes from heaven. It happens in ways that defy logic. The same ground where you once stumbled becomes the stage of your restoration. The same people who underestimated you become witnesses of your elevation. The same loss that once felt final becomes the foundation for something eternal. God's favor moves like a mighty current, flipping everything the enemy tried to twist. Where curses tried to take root, blessings will bloom. Where shame once lived, glory will rise. You may not see it yet, but the spiritual atmosphere is shifting. The rain has already begun to gather. Every act of faith you sowed, every prayer whispered through trembling lips, every tear shed in secret, all of it has reached heaven's storehouse. And now the clouds of favor are heavy, ready to break open. When they do, it won't be a drizzle of blessing, it will be a downpour. It will come suddenly, unexpectedly, overwhelmingly, and nothing will remain dry. In this season, expect reversals that don't make sense. Expect apologies from people who once cursed you. Expect restoration in areas that seemed lost beyond repair. Expect opportunities that your effort could never have created. God is rewriting your story in real time, turning the same pages that once told of sorrow into testimonies of His faithfulness. The season of being the victim has ended. The season of being the vessel has begun. But here's the truth. This reversal is not just about your comfort. It's about your calling. God is blessing you not to make you boastful, but to make you visible. A living proof that His justice never fails. He is about to use your life as evidence that His favor doesn't just bless, it restores, it rebuilds, it redeems. Every delay you faced was a divine setup, ensuring that when the favor falls, no one but God can take credit for it. When the rain of favor comes, you won't need to chase validation. Those who once doubted your worth will have no choice but to acknowledge your transformation, and those who thought your story had ended will watch in awe as God writes the most beautiful chapter yet. This is the rain that cleanses every trace of the curse. This is the downpour that washes away every residue of pain. So lift your face to the sky. The drought is over. The waiting is ending. What's about to fall on you is not just blessing, it's divine payback. The heavens are opening and favor is coming like a flood. It will restore your peace, renew your strength, and reintroduce you to the world as someone who was never forsaken, only hidden until now. The season of reversal has begun. Let the rain fall. Let every curse dissolve under the weight of His mercy. And when it does, you will finally understand. Every tear, every loss, every delay was only preparing the soil, because the favor that's falling now is too heavy to be wasted on unready ground. When all is said and done, this truth remains unshaken. The favor of God is greater than any curse that has ever touched your life. What once broke you will now bless you. What once humiliated you will now honor you. What once seemed like the end was only the quiet beginning of a divine reversal written by the hand of a faithful God. You have walked through valleys that tried to steal your faith, but every shadow was training you to recognize the light that's now breaking forth. You have endured rejection that carved deep wounds, but those very wounds have become the openings through which God's glory now flows. You have been misunderstood, overlooked, and counted out, but only so that no one could share the credit when God lifts you. The delay was protection, the silence was preparation, the pain was purification. And now the weight of His favor is descending upon you. It will fall with purpose, power, and permanence. It will break generational cycles and heal emotional scars. It will open doors that effort could never open, and close the mouths that cursed what they did not understand. God is not just blessing you, He's vindicating you. He's showing everyone that His hand has been on you all along. So stand still and watch what heaven has orchestrated in secret. Every curse is being overturned. Every lie is losing its power. Every injustice is finding its divine correction. You are stepping into a season where the favor of God will speak louder than your past, louder than your pain, and louder than the voices that once tried to define you. Lift your head, not in pride, but in gratitude. You have been chosen for this moment. You survived the breaking so you could carry the blessing. And as the rain of His favor begins to fall, remember, this is not the ending of your story. It is the unveiling of it. The curse is cancelled, the favor has fallen, and your life will never be the same again.